Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting for Tuesday, July 11th order. We'll start with the roll call
Dick Pufall,
here.
Mike Berlin,
Here.
Clarence Campbell,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek,
Here. Next, we need an approval of the agenda. In a motion.
I move we approve the agenda. Marty Vitek.
Motion by Marty Vitek,
Second it by Bill Metzinger.
seconded by Bill Metzinger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public comment period. 3 minutes per person. Uh-oh. It don't matter.
Good morning, everyone. David Meany, Ashland County District Attorney. I just wanted to make a few comments urging the Executive Committee to approve the final appeal decisions that were made by the consultants on the wage study. Those appeals, at least from our office, corrected what I believed and the affected employees believed were mistaken assessments the first time around, and now reflect the appropriate grade for the responsibilities for the positions in our office. I probably should have first started by thanking the county, the board, the executive committee for making the effort to conduct this wage study. I think it has been very helpful to try to get some standardization and rationalization of the county wage situation. Going forward, I think there are probably, and I don't want to speak for other departments, but some minor tweaks that I will be advancing, primarily because in the appeal process, we had one of our positions reclassified as lead legal assistant. We have 2 legal assistants and a lead legal assistant. In the appeal process, when that lead position was established, it was set at the same grade as the 2 other legal assistants. Now, ultimately, logically, that doesn't make sense because that is a supervisory position. I think a 1 step higher in grade is recognized in the structure over in the clerk's office. But yeah, as I said, that's something that we would be asking in the future, to have that lead position at 1 grade higher, but obviously not today. We do have also in the appeal process a reclassification of our victim witness coordinator, Heidi Tim, who is here. That was entirely appropriate given her responsibilities. I would note too that that is a partially funded state position. I think somewhere around 50% the coming year. So the county only is responsible for 50% of that position. But as I said at the outset, I'm here to ask the board to, or the committee to approve all of the appeals that were approved in the final pay package by the consultants. I'm open to any questions, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on public comments? Anyone else for public comments? Nobody online? All right, we'll move right along then. Approval of executive committee meeting minutes from June 13th. I need a motion. Clarence,
Also move approval.
motion by Clarence Campbell, seconded by Mike Berlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Go to number 5, discussion and action on the wage study appeals.
So this is the final portion of the wage study. First portion approved by the county board last year was to go through all the positions and classify them on a grid of one grades and then steps. So all employees had the opportunity they weren't happy with their grade to appeal that. And they did that to our consultants, Carlson Detman. And the results are what we're talking about now. As a reminder, when the county board approved the wage study implementation, it was you had to be working for the county for 3 years and you would be put at a step 4. Everybody else would start off at step 1. And so that approval was done back in early part of this year. The other thing to note is steps cannot be appealed. It was only grades that could be appealed. And the reason is grade indicates the position and where that position be. Steps essentially equals years of service. But because the county board said you had to be 3 years to get to be at step 4 and everybody else would start at step 1, nobody who'd been here less than 3 years would be straight put at a higher level. So we have the appeals here. Supervisor Metzinger, I believe you have some questions.
Bill?
Yeah, when I originally got the original packet, I had a lot of questions about it. And I wasn't in favor of it. I wasn't against the wage increase. But the thing is, there's so many things I didn't know. How high do the grades go?
They go up to 12. Here, I can pull up the study.
What's the number?
I'm going to pull that up for you right now, sir. So they go up to 25, the grades.
And another question I had, how much difference between one grade as far as compensation? How much is the grade difference from like a 12 to a 13? Is it the same percentage?
It's about 2.5%.
2.5%.
Yeah.
And I had asked you earlier, how much is our consultants being paid?
Yeah, so the total amount after the finance committee approved them doing all of the job descriptions, and Mr. Berlin, correct me if I'm wrong. The finance committee said, well, you know, let's just get everything done and pay the extra cost instead of having just 50 job descriptions done. So the total cost is about $50,000.
Another question I had is how long are the consultants going to be employed by Ashland County?
They're finished now.
With this, they're finished.
This, yeah, I literally got the job descriptions this morning.
Okay, so they've completed everything.
Yep, they completed
What
everything.
was anybody turned down?
I know they weren't.
That
Well,
ends my questions.
Looking at the difference in wages. These increases are so minimal. I don't even know why we're discussing this. 30 cents, 50 cents, 42 cents. I think we should just approve this. I'm gonna make a motion to approve it.
There's one more appeal that did not go to Carlson Detman. If the executive committee would like to entertain it, and Sheriff Zupke would like to explain his situation.
Yeah, the second sheet that was handed out, we never had that before.
Yeah, Amber gave that to me literally 15 minutes ago.
Okay, well, I'm just saying this explains a lot to me.
Yeah.
that we never had before. And, you know, I'm comfortable with all the questions that I needed.
Yeah, but before you make a motion, like I said, Sheriff Zupke has one more. Did not go to Carlson Detman, but should probably be addressed if the committee would like to entertain it.
I'll make a motion that we entertain his appeal.
Oh, let me,
Here, use mine.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to get the sheriff's comments on this. Brian?
Thank you for allowing me to come here. I apologize, we didn't get this appeal in. We're in the process of a secretary had left due to the low wages. She had warned us several times over the last year. I believe it was around 21, after she's been there for 10 years. She went to Bayfield County Sheriff's Office, started at 24. Since then, I've replaced that position, but there's some hesitancy with the person starting off so low at that step one. I guess I'm just requesting it to, I have two secretaries, one in part-time for the jail, and then the full-time, the start off at the 24. It's hard to get applicants. We have 50+ employees. Running a whole entire operation with basically being almost like a legal aid with attorneys, paying bills, wages, supplies, office materials, phone rings nonstop all day. So it's hard to be competitive if I can't be like other counties. Like I said, I apologize again for not getting the appeal in between the secretary leave and whatnot. I mean, I just told all my employees to file your own appeals and see if I support it or not. Well, that wasn't done. So just explain that. So like I said, I've talked to every surrounding county. Most of those agencies have 2 3/4 or three secretaries. And that's counting Bayfield County, Douglas County, Price County, Iron County. And most of them are at that competitive rate, what we see over in Bayfield County right now. Like I said, I'm not getting any applicants in, so it'd be the same rate that eventually what our secretary went up at one of those steps, 24, but I'm just asking that we just put them at that right now, because like I said, it's a tremendous amount of work when you have 50+ employees. We're the largest department in the county, so that's all.
Did you, I asked you a question?
Yep.
Did you have recommendations for increase?
Excuse me?
Well, did you recommend an increase, or what it would be?
Yeah, around $24 an hour. I don't know what step that would be, or, our grade, whatever that would be on that sheet you have.
Isn't on there, isn't?
no, it's not. It's on the screen. So it's this column right here. And I'm just doing a quick math here. So, grade 12, step 1 would be 2457. Grade 11, step 1 would be 2317. Grade 11 would be 2317 an hour. Grade 12 would be 2457 an hour. It's currently, the current incumbent would be getting sorry, 43056. 2070. So if you were bumping up to grade 11, it would be 23 something, and then grade 12 would be 2457.
The new employee would be step 1 then.
Yes. So I'm only adjusting the grade because the steps
Okay.
stay. Everybody gets hired at a step 1. So it's the
What's,
great.
what's 11 and a half?
Unfortunately, there's no, it's either 11 or 12, so,
What is the current rate?
$20.70.
20?
Yeah, 2070. That'd be grade 9.
Okay, Bill? Thanks,
Uh,
Brian.
I think, have you hired the person then yet?
I did fill the full-time, the other one, the part-time position I created based on the part-time budget or the overtime budget for our jail is not being utilized due to not filling positions, so it's so busy between the, mostly on the jail side and where I need another secretary to do a lot of that. So that's where we're pulling the funding for that. I just filled our full-time secretary. The original one we had, we always only had one secretary.
How much is she getting paid?
With the, right now, the current one is at
2070.
Bill?
I would like to make a motion that we raise the grade to 11, 2317, and after 6 months, raise it to grade 12.
Yep, yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
That's my motion.
Mike? I'll second that. All right, we have a motion on the floor to raise the rate from 20 up to 2317 for 6 months. After 6 months, go to 2457,
One,
right?
And just as a clarification, so it's reflected as part of the wage scale. That motion is raise it to grade 11, step 1. And then after 6 months, grade 12, step 1.
Okay.
that's for both positions
That's for the confidential secretary full-time.
and part-time though.
That's up to them.
It's the same.
Okay, Mr. Berlin, do you agree? Okay, so
Thank you.
So is the motion for both positions?
yes, it was.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second on the floor to raise the grade to 11, 6 months, raise it to 12. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, I know. We had a motion before to, I made the motion, in fact, to approve the wage study. I'd like to include the chair's secretary. In that motion. To raise the sheriff's secretary to grade 11, 2317, 6 months to grade 12.
I believe the motion, I believe your motion, original motion was to approve the wage. study.
Including that.
Yeah.
Include that. All right, are we ready to vote? Bill?
I will second your motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Was that a motion to approve all of the appeals?
Yes, I was.
Thank you.
We go to number 6, discussion and action on changing the comprehensive plan committee from ad hoc to a standing committee.
Okay, this came out of some conversations that I had with Supervisors Busset and Kinney. Supervisor Busset is online and would like to speak.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Hello,
Go ahead, George.
do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So since we last addressed the issue of climate preparedness, and we sort of tabled that and put it for future discussion, I tried to compare ideas with those who seemed most interested in that proposal. It's primarily Representative Supervisor Kinney. Supervisor Kinney's suggestion was that the Comprehensive Plan Committee be reconstituted and that the question of climate preparedness be referred to that committee then for consideration. Then that committee might come back with a proposal to the board as opposed with regard to, you know, strategy, process, any proposal that might require the board's approval to address questions of climate preparedness. So that's, I think, why we have this item on the agenda today to because the Comprehensive Plan Committee is a listed committee of the board, but it's unpopulated and listed currently as an ad hoc committee. So the notion was to reconstitute the Comprehensive Plan Committee, likely make it a permanent committee, assign appropriate members of the board and or others to that committee to consider this particular question of climate preparedness, and then any other questions that relate to the updating periodically of the comprehensive plan. So that's why I think we're looking at this today. Do I have any questions?
Thanks, George. Bill,
How many people are going to be on this board?
So I would, a little bit more background too is the county has to redo our comprehensive plan by 2025. There are 20-year plans and ours expires in 2025. So this committee would also start working on the complete comprehensive plan. Climate preparedness is only one portion of that. Although it does affect huge portions of our future plans. But we'd also be looking at this, and this committee would also be looking at economic development, housing, how we want to see, where we see the county being in the next 20 years in every department. We'd be looking at the forestry department, what kind of lumber we think we can get, and what kind of trees are going to be prevalent in the next coming decades. So this would be a complete overview of the entire county. The idea would be to put 5 county board supervisors on it. My idea would be to waive the rule for this committee that says a supervisor can only be on 3 committees. Main reason is, in my personal opinion, this committee should be populated with supervisors who really want to do this, who have an interest in doing this. But it would also include at times department heads, because they would be asked how they see the 20 years going and what their department is going to be doing and how things work. We'd want to bring in local officials from our municipalities, the schools. We'd want to bring in a lot of other people at times on this. So it would be a committee of 5 supervisors, but it would also include at times a whole range of people. So we can get input from the entire county and every community in the county, every stakeholder, basically. I can tell you UW Extension's already working on some of this stuff. And as we heard at the last finance committee, was it? Northwest Regional Planning is able to help put the whole thing together. And they're able to get grants to help pay for actually doing the comp plan. And they tend to run 35 to 50 grand when they're all said and done. So I'm sorry, did I answer your question? The other option is maybe it could stay an ad hoc committee. But the idea of using a standing committee is that throughout the years, that committee can still meet to update the comp plan as needed. Is the other issue. Because what we need today may not be what we need in 5 years. And so that's the reason for making a standing committee, for the constant updating. And there's a group of people that can push it to the county board.
Yes.
Yeah, as I remember in the past, I think it's always been UW Extension that's done the comprehensive plan, and every 5 years we just say, here, write the comprehensive plan, and then we accepted whatever they do. But I agree that I think this should be an ongoing thing because it changes. And things change as the years go on, and so we should always be updating that.
Right. As a good example, we got the infrastructure bill passed by Congress. That's changing our roads. The state is looking at all these housing programs, looking at $1 billion revolving loan fund with 0% interest. So these are, may not hit us in 25, but it could hit us all through the way. So yeah, that's the reason for making a standing committee, because things keep happening if we don't address them as a group, that, we're not going to get ahead.
And how often do they meet now in a year roughly?
They haven't met at all, and it's probably since 2015.
Gonna change that, I hope.
Well, that's the goal here, to change that, to have meetings at least monthly or every quarterly or something,
Okay, Nordy.
I agree with that because as things change, you need to have continuity of the people so that they're always thinking and working on this kind of stuff rather than starting from scratch every couple of years. So I would be in favor of that.
Any more comments?
Yes, this is Mike. Out of the gate, I'm not sure how we want to structure this. Obviously, it has to be on a quarterly, start this thing out on a quarterly thing until we get the committee focused. And how many people we want to have on this committee. Obviously, the people we want on this committee is the people that want to be on this committee, so we can extrapolate as much as we can right out of the gate. We don't want to take it away from UW Extension, but we certainly want to include them. And going forward with this, I would certainly want to extrapolate the best of the best that we have to kick this off and go forward running with this thing. I don't think we want to limit this to 5 board members. If more than 5 people, if more than 5 board members want to be on this ad hoc committee, I think we should allow them to. But I think we want to follow your lead on this.
Well, I agree that if more than 5 board members want to be on it, then by all means, yeah. More in this kind of situation, more heads are better than one. So yeah, I picked the number 5 because that's their standing number for committees. But certainly, because if this would be waiving the rules for 3 committee assignments for this one committee, then yeah, whoever wants to be on it would be.
I don't think that would be a problem. Doing a waiver.
Yeah.
For this ad hoc committee, because going down the road with the money that's available through state interest or 0% interest and stuff like this, this can help our housing. This could help our economic development. This can help Ashland County in so many different ways that we can't even fathom that at this point in time, because up until the time it comes to the committee or the subcommittee, wow, we didn't even give that a thought. But that would be an avenue or a tangent that we would want to go down, and it's so many variations are out there. So at this point in time, what kind of action or?
I guess what I would like to see is maybe the approval to go ahead and draft a resolution to do this. And then we could bring the resolution back to the next exec committee. And that way you guys can change it however you want, but at least, we're starting to move on the process.
I would make that motion.
Motion has been made by Mike Berlin and seconded by Marty Vitek. Change the comprehensive plan ad hoc committee to a standing committee.
Discussion.
Bill,
I think that one person from the finance and one from the executive should be on that committee. A minimum of one, just, so we keep the rest of the county posted as far as what's going on, finance committee and the executive committee.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I made a motion for it.
You better be.
Yeah, of course, it's a recommendation.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, so we'll have a resolution to bring back to you next meeting. And then that, you guys can change it however you want. And then we'll send it off to the board at the following meeting.
Well, it should have been part of the discussion, but maybe a little late, but just to air it out is we should probably have someone from also the UW extension on this.
Yeah, Alyssa Rackey's is currently working on this right now, and she's
Okay.
super excited about the possibility of this.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Dan, how many people are on there committee now?
Nobody, it's been,
Nobody?
it's been active since 2015.
Might have something to do with not getting paid and not having any meetings.
Here we go.
Well, it's because you only have to do your comp plan every 20 years and you're supposed to update it every 10 years. Most communities just wait until they have to update it and then form a ad hoc committee and quickly approve whatever gets put in front of them.
So now you're putting cold water on this.
Well, I'm asking, I'm trying to create a situation where we can address our issues and move forward with meaningful input from board members in the community.
Yeah, I think in the past, it's kind of been the duty of the Ag and Extension Committee to make sure that that plan gets done, and UW Extension does it, and they bring in whoever they think needs to be brought in to develop that plan. I think that's the way it's been done. So if they haven't needed to update it, the committee doesn't meet.
Okay. We voted on it, right? Hmm? Sure, George.
Yeah, I just point out that in the current comprehensive plan ordinance, we are required to update the plan every year. We did that to ourselves.
All right, moving right along. We go to number 7. Discussion and action, nomination of Supervisor Sindor to the Joint Dispatch Intergovernmental Board.
So, at the last county board meeting, we approved joint dispatch. So Ashland County has to send one supervisor to this intergovernmental board. In consultation with Chairman Pufall, we appointed Supervisor Stendor, mostly because he's been involved in this whole process since the very beginning. He's a former chief of police. He understands dispatch well.
I'll make that motion. There,
Motion by Mike Berlin to approve. Bill,
I will second that motion.
seconded by Bill Metzinger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Oh, and just, that the first meeting's today at 1:30. So while this appointment actually won't be official, the appointment won't actually be official until the board meets. But at least this way, he can come there and he knows that he's reasonably assured he'll be the
he's
member.
got support.
Yeah.
We'll go to number 8, discussion and action on the grant writer position.
Can I still have a question on that?
Pardon?
But can I have a question on joint dispatch? Who's all on the joint dispatch as far as who gets represented to?
Okay, the committee is made up of 6 people. It is both sheriffs. So Sheriff Williams and Sheriff Zupke. Both administrators, so me and Mark AA. And then Supervisor Stendor, as soon as the board approves. I'll be honest, I forget who Bayfield County appointed. But we did set the meetings up, just annual meetings to start up in May. So after elections, a person can be there. We wanted to do that because somebody retired or somebody got defeated. You know, there could be a start of a new year after an election.
Okay, ready to move along? We go to number 8, the grant writer position.
So we're back to this, I saw a story over the weekend and I forget what paper it was, Wisconsin Watch or something. But a lot of communities out there are complaining that they can't take advantage of all these grant programs simply because they don't have a grant writer. And the biggest problem to it is not writing the grants. It's the administration of the grants afterwards. It's all the record keeping. It's all the making sure everything gets filed on time. It's taking advantage of the new stuff is really where the problem is. We can do the stuff that's existing, but we don't have capacity to take care of new stuff. So, in order for us to fully take advantage of all the new grant programs, and I'm betting there's going to be even a lot more coming up, we need somebody who does this. Now, this person, by the very nature of grant writing, would also be doing economic development. This person would be working for, the entire county and all of our communities. So it may not just be Ashland County. They would be helping the city. They'd be helping Butternut. They'd be helping Glidden, LaPointe. They'd be getting grants into all of our communities because, when our communities prosper, we end up prospering. Now, I have had contacts with the city and with the town of LaPointe, and they're interested in contributing to this effort. Now, how much they will, I don't know, but they are interested in helping take advantage of that because they see the potential too of having somebody dedicated to grants but somebody has to administer them, basically, because none of them have this capacity to administer either. So, going forward before the budget year, if approved, we'd be talking to our other communities to see if they want to contribute to it. So as an example, I'll just pick on the city of Ashland. If they decide they want to pay for 50%, well, then that person would be working 50% solely for the city. And then 50% for the rest of the county. Bearing in mind, if somebody's working 50% for the city and getting grants and doing economic development there, that's helping us. That increases our tax base too. So, anyhow, so I'll take questions or comments or.
Bill,
What are we talking about for salary and benefits?
I think you're looking at an overall package of close to 100,000. It's a specialized position. And that includes health insurance and retirement and all that and taxes. It's a very specialized position. There's not many of them around. I do believe it would only have to be funded the first year. After that, the position would pay for itself. Most grants give you an administration fee to go with it. So you're allowed to use 5 to 10% of that grant to cover the cost of administering the grant. So if you get $1 million grant and you get 5%, you get to keep, the county gets to pay 50,000 towards the administration expenses. And that's how this person would be paid going forward, through the administration expenses. So it's a one-time one-time deal. And if it doesn't work out, I mean, this committee, I'm sure probably wouldn't want to keep it anyhow.
So the question I have,
Go ahead, Mike.
the question I have is, as a, grant writer and the administration of the grant writer, is going to be inclusive to the controlling of those grants. Meaning that grant, once anyone gets a grant, the comptroller makes sure that money is spent in accordance with rules and regulations of that grant. And if any of those funds are spent those grant, that money that's being spent away from the original intent of that grant is not, what do you call it, covered by that grant.
It's not
So
eligible.
therefore,
Yeah.
at the end of that grant cycle, the comptroller is making sure those grant monies are being spent in accordance with that contract.
Right.
Any of that money that's spent off on a tangent is the responsibility of, say, Ashland County or the city of Ashland or Butternut or whatever.
Right.
It would be that comptroller is almost like an auditor
Correct.
to make sure that money is being spent in accordance to where it was intended.
Right. Right. Yeah. So if you get a grant to replace a bridge,
So suddenly the grant writer or the, what do you call it, the coordinator or, he's pulling or she is pulling on a different responsibility of just grant writing and,
right?
comptrollers like an auditor, like I said.
Right.
So-
We're actually paying somebody we're not really paying somebody to apply for the grant. We are paying them to search and apply, but the real costs and expenses is in the actual administration of it.
Yeah.
That's what takes the time.
Clarence?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's gonna free up department heads not having to spend time, like you say, auditing the grants and making sure that it's
Right.
being spent the way it's supposed to be spent. And then some of their other work kind of gets pushed to the side because they got to make sure that grant money is spent in the right way. And that's going to free them up
Mhm.
to do what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. 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 So like I'll pick on Matt Erickson because he's the one who's getting the big infrastructure ones. He's out there applying for all these different programs as they're released. But and then Marcy's doing the work, but it gets to be overwhelming for them. And so it's hard for them to apply for more grants, which in the end costs every taxpayer in the county because we end up having to use levy dollars to pay for something we could have gotten a grant for.
Marty?
I was thinking that probably the best solution would be to have all the grants be in the county's name. For example, if you did one in Butternut, a grant, the village of Butternut doesn't have anyone on staff who could do that. And should some compliance issues come up in the future, then the county would be in a position to handle them rather than the village. That just seems to centralize things a little better. Ashland, the city of Ashland probably has the capacity for that, but I would guess they're about the only one.
Bill?
Who's going to be doing the hiring? And when will it be this committee? And when would it take effect? Would it be for next year's budget? And I guess the thing is, when I worked for Ashland County, the city and the county shared a job. And in certain people's opinion, the county wasn't getting any for what we were paying. We weren't getting any services. So there has to be somebody to kind of say, hey, you're not doing anything for the village of Butternut and they're paying, so there should be some committee set up to oversee this position. I don't know if that would be the executive and then like if the city go, if they say they're going to pay 50% of the grant writer, then are they going to have some say in who they hire and being on this board?
Right. And,
So,
and those are issues we'd have to decide later if we're, how we're gonna split the costs. As far as who's hiring the person, that'd be me, and I would probably have Chair Pufall in the interviews too, but anybody in this committee would be welcome to take part in those interviews.
well, if this committee is the personnel committee, I think that we should definitely be involved in a job that's that important. You
Well,
know,
yeah, and that's how you like, we can certainly have the person interview in front of the entire committee.
I would be in favor of working on setting this up so it's in effect for next year. So I make that motion that,
Well, this is what we're trying to do is, up to this point in time, we're looking at a job description and we have a draft here in front of us and stuff like that, but this overall is going for 2024.
correct.
So yeah, it's putting a framework and all this kind of stuff for 2024. But, you know, we're overseeing that, a need. And obviously the need has existed for some time. And we're addressing the need now.
Right.
So, you know, we'd like to take and put this in first gear. Second gear is gonna be, 2024, get it in a budget. Because there's nothing in the budget for right now.
Nope.
For 23, so.
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and hire a grant writer position for 2024.
Okay, we have a motion by Bill Metzinger to approve the grant writer position. Marty? Seconded by Marty Vitek. I have a question. You probably said it, but if you did, I didn't get it. How are we setting up a wage for this?
Well, I'm looking, I've been looking on these openings for grant writers. And the wage seems to be around the $70,000 mark. Granted, that's different areas of the state, but we all know how hard it is to recruit people to come up north. So my thought is, and then I know Douglas County just recently was recruiting for 70,000. So to me, that seemed a reasonable amount to compete with everybody else in the state.
Are there other county boards who have grant writers on board?
Well, yeah, Douglas County has it. The city of Sun Prairie has one. The Kenosha County has one. I know the city of Madison's looking at it. Dane County's looking at it. So other communities are definitely looking at it because they see the fact that they don't have the capacity to actually go out after all these grants. So everybody's looking at hiring somebody because there's just too much money out there on the table.
Do you think it's necessary to move this ahead in conjunction with the city of Ashland?
I think that's a discussion that we can have with the mayor, see what he wants to do. Like I said, I know the town of La Pointe's interested also. And so I think that's a discussion we'd have with them too. And I think this committee would decide whether or not you want to do the position jointly with other communities, or whether you just want to say, no, the county's doing this, we'll help communities out ourselves and they don't have to worry about it. I mean, that's up to you guys as we move this process along.
The only problem is if we do that, like Bill brought up before, is you're gonna have to share with the city then, structure.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a say in how this is set up and
Right.
final wage and everything else. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Are you going to, this is Bill, are you going to contact all the districts and say, this is what we're planning on doing? If you would like to be involved in this, get back to us.
Yeah.
Okay, but you'll contact everybody in the district?
Yeah, I will
county?
contact every municipality.
Okay.
But yeah, I understand your point, Mr. Metzinger. It makes sense that most of our communities, other than two, don't have the capacity to do it themselves. So maybe it is better off just the county does it and it helps out the communities. Yeah, because again, in the end, if we're improving those communities, it helps us also.
This is Mike over here again. It was originally my intent to, well, this is Ashland County. We are Ashland County. And I believe we want to be on the forefront with many of the other counties that are seeing these dollars out there that's available to the counties and the districts and stuff like this. And I'll just go on to say, I would like to, as Dan is saying, starting at a $70,000, I think that might be kind of low. I'd like to keep that flexible at this point in time. And as I did indicate in the past, that I believe that this is just not going to be a grant writer position. This is going to be a grant writer department. So it's going to involve more than one person.
I have a question about that too. You had mentioned some of the cities that have grant writers.
Yeah.
Do any of them are running it in conjunction with their county?
No,
Why is that?
they just don't. I mean, either the counties are not interested or the cities themselves are not interested in sharing. I just know that a couple of communities, like La Pointe, reached out to see if we want to team up with them.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second on the table to approve the grant writer position. We can make that decision at a later time.
You can make the decision on, well, the motion right now is to just go ahead and approve the position for the county.
Yep.
And then as far as pay and, what we want that person to more specifically do, or whether they combine with other municipalities, that you can make at a later date. But we want to get the position in the budget, basically, right now.
Okay. Bill,
This will be brought up at the county board meeting then for approval.
This will be brought up and eventually it will be, yes. It'll be brought up at the finance committee first during the whole budget discussions. And then, yes, we will come to the county board in October when we do our first overview of the budget. So everybody knows.
okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the grant writer position. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any more discussion? Discussion and action on the Sanborn decision. Oh, boy.
This is just more of an update than anything else. The good news is we have a budget passed, which is awesome. As Senator Quinn said at our last meeting, the legislature put a provision in regarding Sanborn. The governor vetoed that provision in its entirety. He also took the word county out of the reimbursement money for counties, so that he felt that all the municipalities affected by it should have access to that money. I'm pretty confident we're going to get all of our money back because Joint Finance Committee has to approve all the disbursements. So I do know the town of Sanborn last week went to the Bureau of Public Land Commissioners to get a $600,000 loan, $607,000. It's like maybe $650. I do not know what the outcome of that is yet. I do know that the equalized value numbers come out at the end of this month, beginning of next month.
I think they set it the end of July to be released by like the 15th of August.
Okay, so when those come out, they're going to show a huge drop in equalized value for the town, which means the town's borrowing capacity is going to drop dramatically too. And just as a reminder, everybody, any county, city, village, town in the state, they have a borrowing limit. And that limit is 5% of your equalized value. So if you're basically, if your equalized value is $100, you can borrow $5. So $600,000 would obviously be way over the limit. So I'm not sure if they're going to get approved or not. I don't know where it is. If it does get approved, the same 15% of taxpayers are going to have to pay that back. They're also considering a chargeback to the county and the school district and the tech school to cover the portion of illegal taxes that we received. And we did receive some taxes from tribal members during this time period. Some of them paid their taxes on time. So that's the portion that they'd be looking to refund. I do know the legislature is working on a separate bill right now to try to address this issue. And I'll be in contact with our representatives and the governor's office about doing something that is fair to everyone. Fair to the tribal members, fair to the non-tribal members. I think our position is one, everybody treated fairly. You know. So I do believe there might be some negotiating space there with the legislature and the governor. So I'll keep you up to date as things progress. But right now, this is where we are.
So the town of Sanborn has a meeting tonight. Has the chairman or treasurer been apprised of these most current proceedings?
The chair, I'm sure the town is talking to the Bureau of Land Commissioners themselves. I do know that they were apprised of the veto.
Okay. I know Jamie Weaver did contact me here 2 weeks ago with regards to, and he may be listening in on this particular session today. I did indicate that Town of Sanborn is on our executive committee and our treasurer committees so that we can stay on top of this.
Yep.
Best we can.
Yep. And again, we just want a solution that is fair to everyone. It's not only the residents of Sanborn, it's also the residents of the county. Because in the end, everybody in the county is paying just a little bit extra because of this. So we want fairness for everyone. And that's what we've been advocating for.
I know that, this is Mike again. I do know that these last 3 or 4 town board meetings, we've had 20 and 30 people out in the audience, more than we have had in the past. So the constituents out there are interested on the ongoing proceedings. So
Yeah. Well, I believe they'll hear back in the next week or two on their lawn.
okay.
So all I know is third-hand information at this point. Hopefully there's a better update at our next finance meeting.
Any more questions? I sure hope they can straighten this out because it made us look bad.
It's not fair to anybody. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, while that court decision didn't say taxes had to be repaid anywhere in it. And legislative counsel is correct in that. But if a tax was illegal in 2022, it was illegal in 2016. I mean, that's simple logic. So people should get paid back. But the other residents shouldn't have to pick up all the slack either. It's just not fair to anyone. So, the legislature needs to fix a problem that the Department of Revenue created in 2016.
Any more discussion? Okay, if not, we'll move along to economic development.
Oh, I have a weird one for you guys to consider. It'd be acting more like a city than a county. But, one of our most pressing needs in this county is housing. It's pressing not only in Ashland, but it's also pressing in Mellon, it's pressing in Butternut. It's pressing on the reservation. It's everywhere. So one of the things we can do, because we're limited in how we can do some of this stuff, we could purchase land and in coordination with the city So where it would go, we could purchase land somewhere. And then the city could take care of utilities. So all the roads, the sewer, water. And work with the developer, and we would essentially give them the land for $1 an acre. With an ironclad contract that they have to build. And, you know, the city would do their part on their end. But that would dramatically lower the cost for builders because they don't have to worry about the price of land and utilities. And we would create a huge amount of taxable property then and provide housing for, it's desperately needed here. Because to be honest, we're not growing unless we get more housing. That's the number one issue.
Richard,
Yeah, Bill.
could we postpone this until we got our grant writer? Because,
Well,
because we could really, to me, that would really qualify for grants. You know, I just,
well, we do actually have a grant out there already that we haven't done much with. There's going to be $750 to $1 million left of ARP funding that we have to obligate by the end of next year. So, you know, it's something to consider using it for the greater good and increasing our tax base.
Are you thinking of something like, taking tax foreclosed properties and converting them to single family or,
No, I'm talking about buying land
okay.
from a private owner.
Is it seems to me that one time you could do that with a TIF district as well.
Yeah, and that's a city thing. That's why I prefaced it. We're kind of doing something that a city does. Yeah, the city could create the TIF, but ideally we don't really want that because then it's off the tax rolls for 20 years. And that doesn't help us. So it might be better if we just buy the land and they do the utilities, and their utility customers would end up paying for it, obviously. So Chairman Pufall and I and Mr. Metzinger, we would all be paying for it through our water bills, but in the end, you know, it would bring taxable property and more homes for residents.
this is Bill, could we add on to something like the city is doing? You know, the city's building that, a bunch of housing by Walmart there.
Yep.
Could we, I'm sure they didn't have enough money to cover everything. Could we take a portion of our grant and apply it to there?
To that project, we could. I know that there's enough space there for another building, what are they putting 50 units in? I know the space, I think it's 50 units. I know there's space there for another 50 units. It's just not planned yet. But yes, that would be an option. It would certainly stop all the NIMBY problems because it's already there. But there's also land in other parts of this, you know, on the outskirts of the city where we could create where we wouldn't get those problems, but also that they're they're on the bus line.
Could we direct the administrator and the chairperson to look into that and kind of give us a report and then because I hate to see if we're going to get grant money and we got to use it by the end of next year, you know, let's use it, not just let it go, you know.
Oh, well, yeah.
And, you know, maybe you could ask Mellon and Butternut if they have something that, you know.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, and get back to us as far as if they have I know Butternut's got that trailer park that they developed and they were looking for, you know, some money there and, you know, I think we need to spend the money.
Yeah, and I agree. We need to look at the whole county. Yeah, and you know, this will go to finance committee too, and they'll come back here. And I mean, this is not a decision you make in one meeting. It's something you got to talk about and think about for a while.
So you'd probably have to stick to areas that have municipal water and sewer.
Yes. Yeah, that's the key.
Well, this is this is Mike here again. This is a question that I have is, if we can coordinate it or collaborate an effort with the city of Ashland. Because the city of Ashland is doing that, the same project behind, Quick Trip across from, Bart over there. And it's, of course, it's city property and stuff like this. But, if we have this money and it's available or not, we're committed. Now the question is, we need to bring something up real quick. If we can somehow collaborate with that developer with another piece of property in the city of Ashland, say for instance, housing right in the middle of Ashland over here by the old Roffers property. Is that city property?
The city property across from the police building where they are seeking.
Well, at any, if we can collaborate with the city of Ashland as to how they got that developer in here, how this 50 units initially got started, instead of starting from square one, we can start at, say, 0.5 and take it from there. If we could collaborate or communicate with the city as to how this is all done, and Dick here being on the city council has some of that knowledge and could share with you. And of course, come back to the executive committee, the finance committee. And of course, we're on a time crunch here with the money that we have set aside, this ARPA money we have set aside for housing. And of course, the future HUD housing money that may be available to us as Bill has been saying that we want to wait until we get our new position going. We don't have time to wait. We have people here. I think we can coordinate this effort, get this thing started, so that when the grant writer comes, he's going to hit the ground, or this grant writer is going to hit the ground running. The job is going to be here. It's, we got things in motion already. We have money available. Needed a space spent on a timeline, so we can do more for the grant writer and ourselves as for the sequence of events, the time events, and we have money available. Let's put it to work.
Well, I've already had brief conversations with the mayor and city administrator, and I'll be talking to the city administrator in the next week or two to more about it. I mean, there's interest there.
Bill,
Did anybody ever look into these tiny houses? Instead of a big, instead of a big unit,
Yeah, I can, I guess I can contact the city of Duluth. They're doing it. Yeah. But yeah, I'll talk to the city administrator first, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of options.
That back in the day, I was doing some building inspecting, and there's a house on the east end. and-
Please use your microphone.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's over at the east end of Ashland anyway. I think it's 24 feet square, and there was a man, a woman, and a child living in there. They got along just fine. Everything worked. It was cut into 4 pieces. It worked out great. It must have been in law. Well, right. Yeah.
go ahead, Gary. Gary,
Marty?
Gary, did you want to speak? I have a question for you, Dan.
Sure.
Are we working at all with Northwest Regional on this economic development?
Yeah, well, we are working with them through the Rural Partnership Network. So that's another reason why we're looking at this, because there's federal help there with the USDA. So, that's one of the impetuses for starting to move things and come up with things. So yeah, we are working with Sheldon on this.
My experience with being on that board for a long time, the communities they're working with have really benefited from their expertise. A lot of them, of course, were in areas where people actually from the Twin Cities are coming into Wisconsin for a job. And we don't have that here because we don't have any jobs to offer. And this housing thing is all well and good, and we do need housing here, but then people have to have a job to pay for the housing. So
Oh,
those
the
two
chicken and
go
egg
hand in
thing.
hand. We don't have any industry or anything going on.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's a chicken and egg thing. If you don't have the housing, you're never going to get new employers. Because where are they going to get employees? If you have the housing, you can get the employees, and employers will come because they know they can get labor. So, and we have a huge shortage now. I mean, our employers now can't, the employers we currently have can't get enough employees, and it's largely because there's no housing. So,
Yeah, there's,
Yeah, that, I think this spring when Marshfield Clinic was tossing around the idea of coming in here on the highway down there, and one of the realtors said, I don't know, we're gonna get housing for those people. And that was the biggest problem. Even if they came in, how are they gonna hire anybody to man that clinic when there's a shortage of housing? And like he said, they're not gonna buy $150,000 home. They want something more substantial than that, and it just wasn't available.
it's kind of like the question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. In this development they have down by Bart that Mike had mentioned, my understanding is they're gonna build three apartment buildings and a community center for that community, all on that same property. So you are suggesting that we talk them into building one more?
I'm suggesting we look at all of our options. Whether it's buying land from a private landowner, or whether it's assisting with a current project to make it more, whether it's helping the city build up some of the projects they're putting out to bid. I'm suggesting we look at all the options. But again, we have to look at Butternut and Glidden and Mellon and see what they need, because they can certainly use affordable housing or senior housing. I mean, they have employers down there that can't, they're getting people from way down in Price County, so I think we need to look at all the options. And where it makes sense, we move forward.
Okay, any more comments?
This is Supervisor Hubert. May I speak?
Go ahead.
Yes, we were talking about the housing and stuff, and Mellon already has like lots and places for houses to be built or apartment building. We have land there. And we're working with University of Wisconsin with a $2 million grant. That's all we need is like somebody to develop it, or some company to come in and build them. And so that would probably help with if the county would, I'm sure Dan's probably on board with the city of Mellon already with things that are going on. So hopefully we can advance more and get something in here, so that, because we have everything that we need, we just need the houses or departments to be built. So thanks.
Thanks, Rich. Any more comments? Marty?
I think one of the problems is some of the housing, especially rental, is in some pretty poor condition. And they really should be either updated or demolished, some of them. But we really do need new livable rental units, yes.
Yeah, and creating more housing gives municipalities more power to say either fix this place or we're going to condemn it. Because Right now, you can't do it because you just create even bigger crisis.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll move right along to number 11, uniquely Wisconsin.
So I don't know how much you want to talk about this or if you had a chance to look at any of this yet. If there's any interest in trying to promote our own tourism.
This is Mike. I did see this morning on Channel 6 News that this weekend, as a matter of fact, Friday, the local Tulu station is going to be here. As a matter of fact, I did like what they had, the little segment they had on TV just this morning. I'm liking the way that looks. I think we should pursue this. I do. If it requires a motion, I will make that motion.
You think we should what?
Pursue. Let's
Pursue
go
what?
after this. Unique Wisconsin.
Oh,
You know, just having the local TV station come out into Ashland for this weekend is one thing, but Unique Wisconsin is more than.
Yeah, it ties into Discover Wisconsin and the State Department of Tourism and it targets us as opposed to the entire state.
It's kind of ironic that just this morning, a couple had addressed Bill on the street out here. Where can I get a good strong cup of coffee? And Bill had a kind of a brain fog there. He said, what's that? That's Black Cat down over here, who is a coffee shop right across from Ashland Bakery. And of course, but you know, we have tourists out here every day, especially like right now. And they happen to be here, but we're looking to bring people in. And by Unique Wisconsin and by what KBGR and some of the TV stations are doing, well, they did Michigan here that last week and stuff like that. So I don't know what, you know, obviously what promulgated this, but it's a good thing. It's good for a community. It can be better.
now
If
the
we-
television exposure is going to be a real boon to this area.
If we don't put it out there, it's
No.
not going to get out there. So some of what Mary's doing here with the chamber is one thing, that's what they do, but we need to go beyond that.
Right. And this would give Mary another tool also in her
Yes.
marketing. If you're not ready to do anything, I mean, I can get some people in to talk about their experiences with it.
This is Bill. I think it's really important to talk to the chamber and, you know, throw that out there and have her come maybe to a meeting and just see what, you know, the chamber here is planning, you know, maybe we can work together and, you know, I'm from the southern end of the county and we don't have a lot of Butternut's kind of quiet. You don't have a lot of tourism compared to Madeline Island and the Copper Falls and Mellon. You know, they're big draws, you know, but I'm just saying maybe we could kind of work together.
Yeah, well, Mary happens to be very good friends with the producer of the program, so they will work together.
But the thing is, what's going on, we got the Ashland County Fair up here, but the Glidden Fair gets very little recognition and Butternut gets less than that. So, but that's not the, you know, the point is exposure. And that's what we're talking about. And I'm gonna ask a Bill question right now. Oh, what's a Bill question? What's it gonna cost?
It's about $50,000-$60,000.
And the thing is, if we're looking at that kind of money, we should be looking at this for the next budget, 2024.
Correct.
So this is a legitimate question. So if we want to bring Mary in here and other people, let's get it done. We got time to get it in the budget yet, right? Here we go.
All right, well, I'll contact the Uniquely Wisconsin people and have them prepare a presentation for you. And I'll see if I can't get some of the other counties who've been involved in this join too.
Jan, I got a question for you. There's nothing on here about exactly what this uniquely Wisconsin consists of.
Oh, it was in the last packet. There was a handout. But I can go to. So this is a program by the, that's really running through the counties association. And so what they're doing is they're going to counties and focusing on individuals, what makes things interesting. Because to be honest, people want to see interesting things. They want to see what some interesting life, some interesting person on Madeline Island, what they're doing. And it could be some of the restaurant people. It could be they go to Bad River and talk to individuals who are still doing wild racing. It could be that they go talk to the snowmobilers. It could be anything. They're looking for something that's very marketable, that focuses something unique about the county. What is different about Ashland County than every other county? And they want to focus on that to get people to come here, because people's curiosity get piqued when they see that.
I'll just share this. You brought Bad River into mention. I was at a council meeting last winter, and this snowmobile group called themselves the Ditch Riders. They got approval from the tribal council to do some repair on the eastern edge of the reservation.
Mhm.
And they said, we got 4 brand new bridges out there that's not being used, blah, blah, blah. As a matter of fact, when this referendum comes up this November at the tribal election, I have little or no doubt in my mind that because of the new snowmobile group and stuff like that, they're going to pass the referendum to extend this snowmobile trail west of Ashland so that we can tie in with the tricorder and all this kind of stuff. So that's going to be a win-win situation for everybody. But
Right.
timing is everything, and now is the time for them to do what they're doing. And
Yeah, and this would tie into that then. So
we need to get ourselves on the forefront of this, what do you call it? State of Wisconsin.
Yep.
And everything else, whether it be housing, whether it be a grant writer, or, Ashland's been on the tail end of, of a lot of things for a lot of years. Now's the time to step up. I think myself, and we need to do what we need to do to get that done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, and for those who don't know, what Mr. Belen's talking about is, for many years, the snowmobile trail could not go through Bad River. Well, was it about a year ago? They opened up the trail from the casino to Iron County. And this November, there's a referendum to open it up from the casino to Ashland. And if that happens, then the trail will be open from Minnesota all the way through Michigan, which will bring huge amounts of tourism to every community along the corridor. And that would be something that could be focused on then, is, the snowmobile trailing, how you can go across 3 states,
The biggest problem with that, and Mike, you can attest to this fact, is there's no place for a 4-wheeler or snowmobile or whatever to cross Bad River to this point. No, I'm not familiar with what's going on with the road construction down there. Talk was before they started that they were going to build a temporary bypass bridge. Are they doing that, or not?
That's in discussion yet, because DOT is looking to rebuild the Bad River Bridge. So they need an alternate source
Yeah.
so, yeah, right. That's in the works.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that question, because then once they move away from that, and you get the US 2 back to normal, the bridge is still going to be standing. It's perfect for the snowmobile. All right, any more discussion? No, it says on here, no additional activity required.
But you don't have to do anything. We're I think the action you guys wanted is to hear from the people. Which is fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, to keep this on the forefront.
Yeah,
Okay. Employee handbook update.
okay, so we've had, because there's nothing in the employee handbook, we had some employees take advantage of what's essentially a loophole. There's been a long history of employees being able to donate their sick leave. Somebody has a bad illness or something, they have cancer, employees can donate their sick leave to help that person out. And that's all great. I have no problems with that. It's good. But we're having a problem now, especially in the sheriff's department. We're terminating employees. They quit, are donating their sick leave to people. Our handbook states explicitly, when you quit, you lose your sick leave. End of sentence. The only way you get your sick leave paid out is if you retire. So I would like a motion today that says, under no circumstances may a terminating employee donate their sick leave. I'd be willing to entertain an exception for retiring employees because it's literally coming out of their pocketbooks. But
Yeah. Ernest.
I'll make that motion that we change the handbook to read it as Dan stated, in no case may an employee who has resigned or been terminated donate their sick leave to another employee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Marty? Motion by Clarence Campbell, second by Marty Vitek, yes.
I was not aware that this was being done. I mean, I
Yeah.
know there's been many instances in the past where, like you say, an employee has been being treated for cancer and they've used up all their sick leave. And so other employees have said, I'll donate a week of my sick leave or whatever to help them out if they're still undergoing treatment. But I didn't know that this was happening where people were leaving and I didn't know they could even do that.
right, it's not in the handbook, and so it's been the unofficial policy of being able to donate it. So so that's why it's on here to clarify that you cannot do that.
Yeah. So you get somebody's donated sick leave and I'm going to take a day off here or a day off there and call in sick, it's like
Just
they're getting extra sick leave that they don't deserve.
right. It's basically stealing from the county. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bill.
Use your microphone, please.
To work. Oh, there, it's working now. This is Bill. Do we want to put a time on there that, how soon before you leave? If I'm leaving, before I turn my resignation in, let's say 2 weeks before I did that, if I know that and if I did it, do we need a timeline in there as far as when we can't do that?
we could add that any transfer has, if and that's, I was thinking about that too, because somebody, they're a month out, and I would say any transfer of sick leave has to be approved by, at the very least, the county administrator, but preferably the county administrator and the board chair.
Ernest.
Yeah, I guess my thought is you can't just donate it to somebody without there being a reason why you're donating it to that person. If they're, like I say, if they're undergoing some health issue that they need more sick time, that would be a reason to donate it to somebody. But just to say, I'm going to give it to so-and-so, and they have no need for additional sick time, I don't think that's proper.
So why don't we do something like any transfer of sick leave must be approved by the county administrator and board chairman.
Yeah.
Or chairperson.
I would
And
agree.
under no circumstances may a terminating employee donate sick
Yeah.
leave.
I would agree with that. I'll change my motion to reflect it.
So who, this is Mike, who approves the transfer now? Is it the manager?
I've had to do it because there's nothing in the handbook. And there's been that policy where you can do it. And that's why I'm bringing it here. It happened and I was like, well, no, we got to get this in the exec committee agenda so this never happens again.
Well, this is Bill. When I worked for the county, we had the veteran service officer had cancer, and I donated 10 days of my sick time to him. And all I had to do, well, that's, I've been retired for quite a few years. And all we had to do is let the county clerk know that we're doing this. But that's what I did. But like I say, I donated 10 days and we didn't have to go before no county committee. We just had to let the county clerk's office know.
Right, so that's why I'm saying it has to be approved by the county administrator and county board chair. So there's two people that have to approve it, so. And then under no circumstances may a terminating employee donate sick leave.
What Bill's talking about is a kind of a humanitarian thing. The thing we're trying to prevent is not a humanitarian thing.
And can we make that effective immediately?
Yes, I'll agree with that addition.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Clarence. That states in no case may an employee who has resigned or been terminated donate their sick leave to another employee. And if that time is donated, it must be approved by the county administrator and board chair. That's how you want it to read?
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately.
Yeah, that way there's two people that have to approve it. So it puts, it makes it difficult.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Administrator updates, you're up.
I don't have any. We keep going over everything. Yeah, honestly, I put most of my updates on the agenda because that way you can ask questions easier.
This is Martin Vitek. I'd like to bring up one thing that from our last county board meeting at the end. There was some discussion about being able to give your extra minutes to, or somebody in the audience could give their minutes to someone speaking, in the public comments time. And that's okay with me. I think we should have some kind of rules of the road where either the chair approves it or we take a vote. It should be one way or the other, because there were some things I understand that weren't real palatable, but that's what public comments are for. So I'm just looking for consistency.
Right. Well, we looked at the rules afterwards and you're not allowed to donate your time. In fact, it says it right on the sheet, the sign up sheet. So you can't do that. You can only speak yourself. Also for the next meeting, we're doing like some other counties and municipalities do is public comment is pertaining only to the agenda. So if you have an issue other than that, you should talk to your supervisor or go to the committee. And we all know the reason why we're doing that.
Is this something that we should bring up to the board and have the board, make our recommendation that we should no longer do this and that we should limit it to 3 so that the whole board knows about it? Because otherwise, if you've got half the people going this way or something, but if the board, knows about it and passes it and, have this as our policy that they are limited strictly to their own 3 minutes, because they could bring 3-4 people and ask for their 3 minutes, but I'm just saying, I think the board should know about it and make that decision.
It already is the policy.
Okay, but
It already is. And the only way it can be done is by a vote, by a motion of the board and an approval by the board. So if you, Ms. Metzinger, if you're here at public comment and you wanted to speak for 5 minutes on taxes, and you come with Mr. Berlin, you know, you could ask, and you knew he was speaking on the same topic, you could ask the board, can I speak longer? So it's already our policy. And so we just need to enforce our policy. You get 3 minutes, that's it, no donating time.
Okay, I think that that should be brought up to the board so that they know, you know, because, you know, if we have clarification, then I think it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah, I'll bring that up during my update at the next board meeting. But if the next meeting is the only agenda items for public comment.
Do we have a date set for the county board meeting?
Not yet. It'll be after July 8th, though. After August 8th.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, it'll be after August 8th because, well, I'm going to be in Mexico until the first week in August, so. Although you're welcome to have a board meeting and while I'm drinking margaritas.
In regards to this last subject that we were just talking about, donating time, Clarence, you've been on the county board longer than God himself. Do you ever remember that happening before?
Not off the top of my head, I don't, but I mean, yeah, I don't remember it happening. I think if it comes up again, we just say, no, that's not the policy that you can donate your time. You know,
The thing is, employees will look through the handbook and find loopholes.
Yeah.
And the younger they get, the more they're doing that. So.
well, I think they, you know, you see Congress doing that, you know, I'll give up my time for Senator so-and-so to speak longer, you know, and yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because everybody's looking for a loophole. Yep.
Yeah, so I have no doubt we're going to be continue closing loopholes as they come up, but
Well, as long as I've been on the county board, I've never heard of that before.
I don't recall.
No.
So Mike, I
Okay.
understand, this is Mike here, as a point of clarification. If I'm to understand this correctly, then if someone comes up here and gives a 3-minute discussion, it has to be on the agenda.
correct.
If it's not on the agenda, we don't take it.
Nope, they should talk to the supervisor or go to the committee of oversight. Yep. Unless the board chair approves longer, which is fine.
I don't know what you mean on the agenda. When people come here and they want to speak, they fill out a form. That's not on the agenda.
Comment.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, public,
Okay.
anybody that wants to speak during public comments can only comment on an item that's on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
They can't comment on something that's not on our agenda for that
Okay.
meeting.
Right.
Okay.
I'm also changing the employee update to correspondence. Because it's just, that way we can stick other things in there. It's information for the board to hear. So anything can go in there. You'll still get it. You'll still get the comings and goings, but you could get other things under that agenda item, and it's informational under only.
Bill,
I'd just like this clarified. So right now, if it's not on the agenda, someone can't say, they can't appear at the thing and say, well, I don't like the county board chairperson and these 4 or 5 county board members. They can't go ahead and come up to public comment and say that then.
Correct.
Okay.
They can come to this
So it's
committee and say,
limited to only what's on the agenda.
correct. And it's
So-
only the county board. They can come to this committee and say that. They can come to finance committee and say that.
Okay, so like we've had the different people, the people like the sheriff and former jail dispatcher, then they can't talk,
Not unless it's on the agenda.
not unless it's on the agenda. Okay. That's what I just would like to know.
Hopefully that'll make our meetings a little bit nicer.
As long as we're on the subject for a minute here. public comment period, is there any reason why we couldn't limit that public comment period to executive committee or any other committee outside of the full county board? To say, like the sheriff has something he wants to talk about or whatever. To actually members of the county administration or whatever. What I'm trying to do is limit the BS that comes through that door over one subject. We're beating this horse to death every time we have a meeting. And I don't know necessarily why we have to have an open public comment period at every committee meeting that we have. That's just an opportunity to keep throwing fuel on the fire.
Well, there's no statutory requirement that says public comment. So we could eliminate public comment completely from the county board agenda and just have it at the committee level. But, you know, that's not a step that we're ready to go to yet. Or at least I'm not to.
Yeah, Clarence.
As you mentioned, Dick, I've been on here longer than God, but I think at one time we did not have public comments in the county board meetings, and we were criticized for that. And so we added them. But I think as long as we limit it, that people can only speak on items that are on our agenda, I think that will shorten it up considerably and not allow, like you say, beating a dead horse.
Mhm.
You know, I think we'd be okay.
Right.
Because oftentimes when we're discussing something on the agenda, somebody from the public wants to raise their hand and they want to speak, which they're not allowed to during our discussion. So that gives them an opportunity to speak on it during public comments.
I agree that the public comments part shouldn't be eliminated for sure. One of the things, 3 minutes isn't that bad. I've been chewed out for 3 minutes before. And I just don't, I think it's a good safety valve for people to get off their, whatever they want to say it, you know?
Well, and the key to that is if it's not on the agenda, you can't discuss. Yeah.
So just as an example, here's what Allegheny County does. And it's limited to the agenda. So they say pertinent to the resolutions of the day, but it's limited to the items on the agenda.
Okay, anything else, guys? Bill?
We got to schedule the next meeting date yet?
We can.
Is, you know, just, that's why I asked, when the county board is going to meet, and because we usually meet before the county board meets. So,
Well, like I said, I'm going to be in Mexico July 31st to August 8th. So that kind of puts off everything until. But exec committee can meet before the county board. I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, if there's nothing to bring to the board, there's no reason to have a board meeting, I guess. But we could set next exec meeting for sure in August if you like.
tentative date.
Well, here, I'll put the calendar on the screen.
What's the date of the county fair? Anybody know?
Not a fan.
17th through the 20th, I believe. Of August.
Of August.
Yeah,
Okay.
17th to the 20th, I think is the fair.
All right, so the calendar's on the screen. I mean, the 15th.
We don't have nothing pressing. We could even go the 22nd.
We can, but finance will be the 23rd.
Well, okay, we can do it the 15th. That's fine.
just so everybody knows, we're moving finances to Wednesdays. Because one of the members it works better for. So Lori, can you please mark off the August 15th for the next executive meeting?
I will do that.
Thank you.
And that'll be a tentative date if we don't have nothing to discuss.
Yeah, we'll have something to discuss, I'm sure.
Okay, as long as we're on the same topic, when do we have, if somebody has a question about their wage, how often do we have to discuss that? Or is it case by case when it comes up, or can it come up anytime? Or is it limited to certain times of the year when they can do that, or?
That's up to this committee, to be honest. I would say, in my personal opinion, we're done. That if they want to, there's one other issue that we have to revisit on the wages. And that's whether the step increases occur on January 1st or on an anniversary date. But we have time for that because that can be part of the budget process.
Well, would it be wise to set, because we have new employees coming all the time, would it be wise to set it so that we have it on a 6 months basis,
Yeah.
wage study or something like that? Every 6 months or every 3 months, that's when it has to be, and only during that time?
If that's what this committee likes, yes, we can do that.
Can we bring that up as a topic for the next meeting?
Yes. I'll bring up the when the step increases occur, whether it's anniversary date or New Year's Day. And what conditions you want to put, like, and then we can discuss that same issue then.
Okay, anything else? Next, we need a motion. Motion to adjourn.
Who made the motion, please?
Marty Vitek says motion to adjourn.
You have a second, or you guys want to hang around? Second by Mike Berlin, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
You're going to oppose, motion carries. Thank you.